Yes. So last night, in honor of LGBTQ History Month and National Coming Out Day, we participated along with others from the Lexington Affirming Faith Coalition in a vigil of queer joy and mourning. Feeling all the feelings, right? And I just wanted to bring in this one piece that I created. The part that I shared last night was honoring some of our Lexington queer icons that date back to the 1920s. So you may or may not have heard of Sweet Evening Breeze, known as Sweets. There's a beautiful mural downtown honoring her now. And then in the 1920s, she would walk around downtown in evening gowns, and she was comfortable expressing herself at a time when it was very unsafe and dangerous to do so, and quite so illegal. And she became known in the community and well respected, and really was a place and had a space of refuge for other queer folks, and such that Lexington attracted folks like Henry Faulkner and other artists and writers that would come. And Sweets, along with some other drag queens in her house. It's called a house, and you might hear the terminology like, this is my drag mom or my drag daughter. It's kind of like a lineage, right, of like mentorship. And so this is an acknowledgement of Sweets, along with Lee Angelica, who was another icon in her house. And in 1970, Lee Angelica was arrested at what is now the bar complex, but I think it was called the library or the living room. Thank you. I knew it started with an L. It's had many names over the time, and was arrested for wearing a disguise. Well, Sweets went and advocated and actually got her out of jail, and that moment, 1970, became the last time that a gay bar in Lexington was raided by the police just for simply being a gay bar. So a turning point in history. As many of you know, we have the Fairness Ordinance that was established before many were even established around the country. In Lexington, Kentucky, you're like, what? Has been a refuge and a safe place for the queer community for the most part. And then Charles Danby was a performer known as Miss Joyce, and also a big part of the film, The Gospel of the Pagan Babies, which kind of is a documentary about a lot of these folks in that time, was the last of Sweet's house, and was a performer who died fairly recently, I believe in 2020. And so these were a few folks that we acknowledged last night. It was a beautiful moment of music. We sang together, we lit candles, we walked the labyrinth outside at the Unitarian Church. And it was, myself, colleagues from Central Baptist Church, Beaumont, Presbyterian Church, the UU Church. And about 50 people came out. We kind of kept it private, right? Because during these times, we were all also concerned about putting it out there widespread. And still the fact that 50 people showed up just by us spreading it internally, and you had to email to get the address. I mean, y'all, I just have to say, like, this feels a little bit like the 1970s when you used to have to knock on a door and have a code to get into a bar, right? Like, where are we in history? But anyway, our goal is to have this be an annual event and to grow it and possibly do it downtown next year for hundreds, if not 1,000 or more people. So just wanted to acknowledge that and what occurred last night, and that Ahava's energy was a part of that. So this will be here. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, and on that note, we do have stickers and buttons at each door when you arrive, and we invite you to grab a button or sticker that, mine's here, for your pronouns. Okay. So now let's get into the theme of the month. Enough is a feast. Rocktober, we were talking about prosperity and abundance. Oh, and just one more tie-in to last night. Another part of the evening was an artist had strung up a number of stamp cards. Sorry, I have mine in the back, but hopefully I'm explaining this right. Basically, handcrafted prayer cards with a beautiful stamp on the front of a different image and then a little prayer on the back. And so they're all long and beautiful rainbow colors, and I was kind of sitting at the end like, which one's mine, which one's mine? I grabbed this, I turned it over, and I laughed out loud. It was talking about scarcity as a mindset and how we can move into the abundant nature of the universe. And I was just like, what? And I went up to a few people. I went up to Daniel, who created them. I'm like, this is my message tomorrow. It's that one. And I was like, are these all the same? And he's like, oh, no. I'm like, well, I got the one that was right in tune. So we are studying the book, The Soul of Money, this month. And last week we explored this great illusion of scarcity. This idea that runs deep. It is this inherited belief in our culture that there is not enough. Whether it be not enough time, not enough money, not enough love, not enough energy, not enough success, attention, or somehow that we are just simply not enough. And we heard in her book from the reading that scarcity is not actually about lack. It's an unexamined and false system of assumptions. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with the material thing, but it is the mindset. It's the belief in this system of assumptions of not enough. And it's experienced not only by those struggling to make ends meet, but those with large amounts of wealth and money. This feeling of, I need more, there's not enough, right? And that's what I love about this book, is it comes from a perspective of someone who has been a fundraiser for large organizations, been around folks and corporations with large amounts of money, and going across the world to various places where there is extreme poverty. And through all of that experience, she writes about this idea of sufficiency, which is what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So scarcity, or as I call it, scarcity, right? When you're living in scarcity, there are three rules or kind of beliefs, right? The three rules of the game in order to live in scarcity. There's not enough. More is always better. And, well, it's just the way it's always been, right? So we can't even imagine trying to move out of scarcity because it's all we know. It's all there's ever been. We need more, and there's not enough. And these ideas of what have built up and held the foundation and the structures and the support of this scarcity. But I imagine that you, like me, are interested in packing up and moving out of scarcity into perhaps the land of plenty, the land of milk and honey, yes? And this can be done by changing our mind and remembering the truth that we live in a spiritual universe of infinite supply, that we are not separate from God, life, source energy. In fact, we are it expressing uniquely through us. So today's topic, enough is a feast. We're going to move into the mindset of sufficiency. As the reading quoted this morning, sufficiency is not about quantity. So it's not about having enough money or enough things or just an amount, right? Sufficiency is an experience. So this whole month, as we're talking about prosperity and abundance, I know if you're like me, perhaps the mind could go, yeah, but dollars in my bank account. Yeah, but, right? food in the pantry. We can go very easily back to the physical and the tangible expression and effect, but I want us to live in the land of cause and focus on thoughts and beliefs and mindset, because it is from there that creates the experience and where we can shift to see something new and open up to the abundant possibility of the universe. So if you notice your mind going there, just like we talked about last week, pay attention, notice those thoughts, just breathe. Acknowledge it, and then focus on a tree with its millions of leaves. Find a way to shift in that moment out of that limited mindset. So sufficiency is a consciousness, a way of thinking, of being. It's that quiet, powerful knowing that we have enough and who we are is enough. It's not about settling for less. It's about waking up to the abundance that is already here. Appreciating who and what we are now and what we have now. Because when we live from sufficiency, something begins to shift. And we stop chasing after the more, which is really a belief in lack or not enough. And we start inhabiting and actually living in our lives with what we have now and begin to appreciate what we have now. And then we begin to see that it's been here all along. The love that we seek, the creativity in our hearts, and the beautiful gifts and blessings of each ordinary moment. It's kind of like realizing we've been swimming in the ocean while dying of thirst. Yet we're surrounded by what we seek. So Lynn Twist in her story tells of this modern folk tale about a greedy goblin. So a greedy goblin reaches into a jar of pickles and he grabs a big handful. And then he can't get his hand out of the jar. It's too full. He pulls and he tugs, and no matter what, he just is getting so frustrated he cannot get those pickles that he wants. Until finally someone says, do you want to know how to break that spell you're under? Well, yes, he says. Let go of the pickles. At that moment, we realize that our suffering isn't because there isn't enough. It's because we're clutching so tightly to what we think we need or want or desire or deserve that we can't even open our hands to receive what is there. We're like that goblin, right? Stuck, not by life, but by our own grip, our own wanting more and more and to control it. And on comparison, on the illusion that the more will finally somehow make us feel enough or safe or good, right? But sometimes the most spiritual thing we can do is let go. Yes? So nature is one of our greatest teachers of sufficiency. The planet doesn't hoard. It doesn't take more than it needs. It circulates the water cycle, right? The earth doesn't endlessly get bigger and more and more and more, right? Dana Meadows is quoted in the Soul of Money book by saying, everything born of the earth grows to its appropriate size and then stops. Think about that. A flower doesn't strive to be a tree. An ocean doesn't try to expand into the sky. A star doesn't compare itself to another star. Everything in creation lives by this law of sufficiency, of enoughness, of harmony. And it's because of that that it radiates the beauty and the balance that we see in nature. But then we humans come along with these beautiful, brilliant minds, and we create something that is not natural. This idea that more is good and that I'm not enough just with who I am or what I have, and we start to compare ourselves and think we need more and more and more and more and more. And the comparison then, as it said, is the thief of all joy, right? Anne Morrow Lindbergh expresses this so poetically in Gift from the Sea. She said, "One cannot collect all the beautiful shells on the beach. One can collect only a few, and they are more beautiful if they are only a few." This past week, I had the opportunity to take my daughter Cadence to her forest school through the Red Oaks Co-op. And we were out at the Red River Gorge. They have some beautiful property there. And at the end, it was kind of free play, and we were playing in the creek. And there are all of these beautiful rocks and stones, right? And you can look at them all from that perspective and say, wow, it's beautiful. And for me, zoning in on one or two rocks that catch my attention and then taking a moment to be with that rock, that perspective, that spaciousness of appreciating one or two things is where I experience that beauty, right? It's like I don't need or want, let me get all the rocks, and nor did I want to try to, well, sometimes I want to put a few in my pockets, but
it's illegal.
I know, yes, it is illegal, yes. And so, there's that human desire to want to take, or this is so beautiful, I want this for me, or, take all that. But it's like just being in the nature and taking a moment to just appreciate the things. It's what gives its I want to say value. I mean, it has its inherent value, but like in our perspective to it, right? So sufficiency, so holding it with reverence, and then creating the space around it, it's kind of like art, right? Like there's something to the contrast and to the blank space that highlights something in a painting that draws your attention to it. Sufficiency isn't about filling every corner, all of our pockets, stacking up all the things so that we can meet some insatiable need to feel like we are enough or have enough. Sufficiency is about leaving room and space to appreciate and see what we do have. We spend so much time in life grasping at every shell, at every rock, every opportunity. FOMO, anyone? All, like, we're surrounded with even just like all the media and content that we have now of like, there's so much TV and social media and all the things, but you could just sit there and like, there's nothing to watch, right? But think about back in the day when we had like 3 channels and we'd all gather around. It was so special. Like, that's what you would do. Oh, something's coming on tonight, whatever the show may be. And you would gather around, and then you would talk about it the next day, and it would be a thing. But now it's like there's so much. I think about the grocery store, all the different brands of things. It's overwhelming. I'm sitting there trying to, like, read all the ingredients to find the things. And then I travel, and I'm in other countries, and it's like, oh, thank you. There's cereal. Here's rice. Here's, like you don't have like 20 million brands of the same thing. It's like, So sometimes enough looks like one beautiful, perfect rock, one moment of stillness, one deep breath of gratitude. We spend so much time often grasping for every shell, every rock, every opportunity, every possession, every experience that we forget the joy in enough. And that can only come from first believing that we are enough and that we have enough so that we can appreciate that which we do have. So how do we practice this idea of sufficiency? It begins with awareness and our attention. By choosing to see and appreciate what's right before us, what's already here. When we pause and notice, like truly notice, the way, when you're looking at shells on the beach or playing in the creek. Pause and truly notice the abundance that surrounds us. Something that we may even call miraculous happens. A shift of perspective to where we move out of the egoic part of the human nature mind of wanting, taking, needing more, and we shift to the perspective of the beauty in this moment of what is before us. Gratitude begins to expand from our heart for all that we are encountering, experiencing, appreciating the beauty. Lynchwood says, when you make a difference with what you have, it expands. Simple idea, but think about what is something that you have. Time, energy, creative ideas, talent, money, various resources, food, house, car. What are the things, clothes, that you have, qualities or physical possession, that you can choose to act as if you are that water cycle of nature that is always replenishing itself, and choose to make a difference by sharing it, by giving it, and then watch how the universe will provide. Because the universe abhors a vacuum. So when you share, when you open your hands to give, that cycle will be replenished. When you give thanks for your time, your creativity, your connections and relationships, your resources, you will notice from that consciousness of appreciation a deeper, more fulfilling experience that is more meaningful. And those experiences and things grow in our life. When we stop measuring our worth by how much we accumulate, but by how much we can give, and start appreciating what we have, we move out of the land of scarcity and open to something new. The consciousness of sufficiency is how we change the collective, how we change our world. Can I get an amen? I guess there's some energy coming, something's coming through that speaker all of a sudden. Amen. Buckminster Fuller, any fans? Maybe, yes. He envisioned a world that works for everyone, with no one and nothing left out. That may sound familiar, right? Centers for Spiritual Living, we say every Sunday. In some way, I usually work it in because it's a beautiful vision. A world that works for all. That's where this idea came from. And that begins when we individually live from a place of enoughness. We don't hoard, we don't take. We move into a consciousness that can appreciate. And we can shift into that mindset of sufficiency and make choices and take actions based on the idea that everyone deserves to have enough, because all beings are inherently valuable and are enough. And the same is true for us, yes? All beings deserve to know and to be enough. Enough love, enough food, enough creativity, enough vigor for life, vitality, energy, health, wholeness, energy, spirit, freedom. But the more we believe in the myth of scarcity, the more we compete and turn against each other and other and separate and live from this us and them, me or you. And it's deeply entwined in our collective subconscious, y'all. So that's why the step to start packing your bags to move out of scarcity is to pay attention and to notice all of those messages on those billboards, on those ads, around the water cooler, wherever you may hear these ideas of not enoughness, and just start paying attention to them. To notice it so it doesn't just become more background noise into our subconscious, but we can consciously say, oh, that's a belief in scarcity. That's a belief in lack. Start to notice our own thoughts as they come up. Oh, I can't because I this and that and the other. Affirm the truth. Shift to becoming grateful for something in that moment. The more we believe in the truth of sufficiency and work together to share our resources, to help and support one another, and to trust and know that we will be provided for, in doing so, we will live without that need to want to hoard or to take or be the greedy goblin that wants all the pickles for himself and instead gets none. But imagine just taking your 2 fingers or a fork and getting 1 pickle. Sufficiency creates this you and me energy instead of the you or me world that the majority of the world lives in, that kind of consciousness, right? So we get to be the few that are helping to create the tipping point that will then become the many that lives and embraces the consciousness of sufficiency, of enoughness. I want to remind us again of today's affirmation. I celebrate all that I have and appreciate the abundant blessings that surround me. These aren't just words, y'all. It's the doorway, it's the pathway to celebrate, to appreciate, to acknowledge all that we have right here, right now, and to move into that consciousness of sufficiency. So this week, I invite you to contemplate, what if you lived as though you were enough? What if you lived as though you knew you had enough? What if we released the clenched fist of not enoughness and open our hands to the feast of enoughness that is already before us? And watch the mind, it's tricky, saying, yeah, but I don't see any food and I'm hungry. Move into this. I know it's paradoxical, right? It's counterintuitive. Move into the consciousness of what is real with a capital R, not what is the condition before us. Because the condition before us right now is simply a result of a previous cause. So if you want to change the condition, take this moment, change the cause. And it begins in our own hearts and minds by appreciating what is there. And then we begin to experience in form that very feast of enoughness. Maybe it looks like savoring your morning coffee instead of gulping it down. Oh, I got to get to my day, right? Rushing out the door. Maybe it's writing a handwritten letter, old school style, with a stamp and an envelope and sending it to a friend instead of messaging or texting or scrolling social media. Why? Well, it breaks our habit, first of all. It calls us into the now moment, and doing something different like that opens a different part, like neurologically in our brain to create a new synapse. And it allows us to really appreciate something, the coffee, the friend. Maybe it's taking a walk and noticing, really noticing the sounds of the birds in the trees or the neighbor's dog, the little signs of fall. How nature never rushes, yet everything somehow gets done. Every season, there's a harvest. When we live from the consciousness of sufficiency, we discover true abundance. Not in excess, but in appreciation. Not in the next thing, but in this thing, this breath, this moment, and this beautiful, sufficient, eternal now. Yes? So let's take that into prayer. Take a deep breath. Let's take another deep breath this time. Pay attention. Mindfully. One more deep breath and appreciate the body's natural ability to breathe and to sustain life. The body's natural ability of the heart to pump without us having to think about it or remember or tell it to. It just does. There's an energy, a presence that is the animating feature of life itself. That energy, that source back of all things that is beating our heart, that is breathing us. So I'm so grateful to recognize the one life, the energy, the source, that which I call God. Knowing that God is love, God is wholeness, God is freedom. God is all that there is, and therefore is who I am. I am one with the love of God. I am one with the wholeness of God. I am whole and complete, just as I am. All of me, I am enough. Yes. So from this place of oneness, I speak this word now for all those who are in need of a prayer today, for all those who are hearing the sound of my voice or feeling the vibration of the intention of this word, knowing that I am enough. We are enough. There is only love, wholeness, peace, joy. So grateful to know that there is a power a presence for good that is moving me, that is providing all that I need. So I claim and declare this day that all of my needs and desires are met. I claim and declare for this beloved spiritual community, Ahava Center for Spiritual Living, that all of our needs are met. Financial needs, resources, ways that we can't even imagine the good that is coming to support the mission of this teaching in this community, expanding into the world such that we experience that tipping point of awakening to a new consciousness of abundance and sufficiency. So I declare right here, right now, that any old ideas of lack, of not enoughness, not enough time, not enough money, not enough energy, any of these old ideas dissolve back to the nothingness from which they came. For the truth is, right here, right now, we are fully sourced in resources, in all that we desire to do. I am enough, you are enough, we are enough. Ahava is enough. And in such, we have exactly what we need to bloom and to grow, just as the beautiful flowers in the garden do, to their right and perfect size. We appreciate who we are now. We love, and we allow that love to always be the guiding force of this community. How good it is to speak this truth. How good it is to know that this word is done and fulfilled. With great gratitude, I release this prayer now into the action of the law that always says, yes, my beloved, it is done and it is so. And together we say, and so it is. Yes.